Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Lincoln Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Lincoln. With me today is a very special guest, DJ, producer, and CEO Alex Kade from Canada. Alex, it's a pleasure to have you.
Dude, Chris, thank you for having me here. It's been such a pleasure just, connecting over WhatsApp, talking with you over the last few weeks. I'm so pumped to finally be here.
I came across your stuff just scrolling on Instagram, going through different musicians and cool covers and things like that. And then your video popped up for me, and it was just this incredible hybrid of emo, EDM, and anime, just this splicing of music that I never would have thought of piecing together. It almost doesn't make sense. But the whole thing about the music that you were piecing together, even the video itself, just jumped out at me like some kind of revelation, this new thing, this unique thing that just worked so well. So my first question to you is, I mean, how did that come about? And secondly, it seems to have amassed quite the community, quite a cult following of tens of thousands of people listening to your music and checking out the live events that you're doing. So yeah, first off, how did that hybrid of music, that splicing of music happen? And second, why do you think it had such an impact on the community who are listening to it?
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the kind words and for watching my stuff. But how it started, I've always wanted to do music as a living since I was a kid. I think when I was 14, I told my parents, "Yo, I wanna go to university for music. Let me pursue music." And my dad, he started laughing at me at the dinner table, so I went upstairs and cried. But being the little rebel I am, I just kept doing it anyway. And then so I went to school for music for a bit. Or I did, luckily in high school, I had really good music teachers. They pushed me to do music. I went to post-secondary for music for a couple of years before I dropped out. I realized, you know what, like I didn't really like the schooling system. Let me just do my own thing. And it was just a lot of trying to figure out how to navigate turning my passion into a living. And then throughout this whole process, it was about like 2019, 2020, 2021, where I started learning, this entrepreneurial journey of finding mentors, meeting people who are like-minded, connecting with friends, acquaintances, coworkers, anyone, just building my network to see how, or to learn from everyone, learning from mentors and all that stuff. So it was about 2021. This is when it like really, really started snowballing and turning into what I have now. But it was about 2021. I was talking to one of my mentors and I was asking him, Canada was still locked down at this point, but I was asking him, when things get unlocked, like what do I do? How do I start playing shows? And he told me, hey, because of where you're from, because of your background, right? For those of you who are listening, I am Chinese. But because of your background, anime conventions, if you like anime, because you're Asian, they'll hire you. Just because you look the part and you can go and play. And apparently that's what he did. He had a Chinese pop band, nothing to do with the Japanese culture at all. But he was playing a bunch of shows, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I actually really, really like anime. I like Japanese culture. I grew up with that stuff. So let me just start looking into this. And at this point, I was listening to a bunch of Japanese songs, watching a bunch of anime because there's nothing else to do during the pandemic. And I started turning the openings of these anime, these Japanese cartoons, the opening songs into electronic dance music on TikTok. I started remixing them and putting them up on TikTok. And so with these songs from these Japanese TV show openings, they're so iconic. Like a lot of us grew up on it if we watched it as a kid, and they're just really, really good songs in general. Even if they weren't associated with these cartoons, with this culture, it would still be a really good song. But I started remixing them, turning them into electronic dance music remixes on TikTok. And I think after like 4 months, I was just kind of making remix after remix after remix. Nothing was blowing up, but you know what? I'm like, I enjoyed it, so I just kept doing it. So after about 4 months, I posted this one video. It's a remix of this popular anime called Demon Slayer. It's one of the newer ones, but I posted that, and within a week, it got 1.7 million views. So after 4 months of absolutely nothing, that happened. And then when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I did stumble upon something really, really cool. Let me keep going on with this. And so I started turning more anime songs into EDM, and those just started getting more and more views. And so when that happened, I started emailing all these different anime conventions. Now that I have the social proof, hey, I create good music. I have the social proof. Let me start emailing all these anime conventions, anywhere that I could play performances, because I just really want to get my name out there. I emailed, I think, every single anime convention, nerd convention, geek convention in North America, which is about like 50 to 60 of them. Emailed every single one of them, telling them, hey, my name is Alex Kade. I do this. I've gotten like 2 million views on TikTok. I can put on a really, really good show for you. Most of them, I'd say like 90% of them just ignored my emails. Another 5% of them, they all said no, or like, we don't have the money to pay you. I'm like, okay, cool. And it was only one out of the 50 to 60 conventions that I emailed. They said, yes, we'd love to have you. And so when that happened, I'm like, okay, cool. Let me go with this. So that was Oda Fest in Calgary, one of my favorite organizations in the world. They're a nonprofit, but they hired me to go play a show. I brought some of my friends over with me. They're called Anime Nightclub 3, and they're on social media too. They love anime. They love combining anime with music that they love. And all four of us, we went over to Calgary in Alberta to Oda Fest back in May of 2022, and we played a show. And we hired a few people just to have their phones and just record videos of our performances. The show went really, really well. We had about 800 people there, and everyone they're giving us rave reviews. They're like, we've never seen anything like that before. This was so much fun. And we're like, okay, cool. We're good performers. Now we started posting the videos of that, and then those started going viral. So we ended up with like, I think, close to like 3 million views in the span of a month of just like after that performance of us just posting. And after that, someone found me on TikTok, told their fiance. Their fiance happened to run one of the biggest anime conventions in North America. They hired me to go to LA. They flew me out. They paid for everything. They took me to LA. I did the same thing, hired people to take videos of me on their phone, posted those up on TikTok. Those went viral, and it just started snowballing. So 2022 was like when I really discovered, okay, I've stumbled upon a really, really cool niche where I get to, share my passion for music as well as my passion for pop culture. And it came to a point where at the end of 2022, I had all these views, I've played these performances, I have all this experience. I tried to do the same thing. I started reaching out to these anime conventions, nerd conventions, geek conventions, again, telling them, hey, last year you said no, but this year I've got even more. I can bring in more people. I can help you do ticket sales and stuff. Let me play at your show. And a few more people responded. A lot of them was still no, but the biggest thing was for the people who did say yes, they didn't have enough money to hire me, because as a Canadian, to play in the United States, you got to pay for a pretty expensive visa to play over there. Now, because they didn't have that money to, or they didn't have that money to hire me, or they weren't offering me what I needed in order to go there, I kind of went. I wasn't going into depression, but I was like kind of thinking about, I was kind of bummed out and I was sad. I was trying to figure out, how can I grow this thing that I've created over the last year and a half? How can I keep the snowball growing? How can I keep this this momentum going? That's the word. And then that's when the brand We Touch Grass. That's when I thought, hey, let me create a brand called We Touch Grass, which will focus on creating these anime themed nightclub events that I've been doing over at these conventions. And my very first one, I've never organized an event before. I've never organized a nightclub event before, but I just threw a bunch of my own money at it, found a venue in Toronto, rented the venue, hired a bunch of my friends to come play. Those tickets, we had about 400 tickets. We sold those out 6 weeks in advance without a single dollar in marketing. I had one video that just went viral at the same time that I launched the event, and that just immediately sold out the event. And the people who went to that event, they were so happy with it. They had so much fun. They're like, we've never had something like this in Toronto, in Canada before. So I thought, oh, this might be the same problem across all of North America and all these big cities. So I hit up my friend and messaged him, hey, Julian. He's my second in command in at We Touch Grass. But I messaged my friend. I asked him, hey, can you just rent all these venues or just find venues who are willing to rent to us in North America? All these cities have over 1 million, over 2 million people. I'm just going to throw a bunch of my own money at it. Let's just run anime raves. That's what we call them, these anime-themed nightclub events. Anime raves all across the continent. Our first year, we did 20 cities, right? Most of them were sold out. We spent very, very little money in marketing. I think we spent about like $35,000 in marketing. We ended up generating $300,000 worth of ticket sales. We sold 13,000 tickets in that first year. Yeah, in that first year. And after that, that's when I saw, okay, this has potential. Now, going back to that video, that you saw, for me, as much as I love Japanese culture, as much as I love doing anime raves, all this stuff, I grew up listening to Linkin Park. I grew up listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers, all this emo music, this punk music. And then with this anime stuff, I want to explore different music. Like yeah, I just love music so much. There's so many different genres of music that I love that I want to explore. And the amazing thing with electronic dance music is you can just kind of combine whatever you want, and as long as you're making people dance, as long as you're making people hyped up, then everyone loves it, right? And so that video that you saw, that was the end of our 2024 year with We Touch Grass. I've been running events for about 2 years now, anime themed events. I want to try running something that was just like Alex Kade. It's just me, right? And then so that way I could play whatever music I want to. There wasn't like a theme with it. I could just play all the songs that I want to. So yes, I did play some anime themed music, but with the originals that I create, with the Alex Kade brand itself, I've always wanted to combine this emo music, this rock music that I loved as a kid, with the modern electronic dance music that I absolutely love as well. And so that's how you came across that pop punk rave, that pop punk music mixed with all this EDM stuff. I call it like sad boy EDM in a way. The music, the music, yeah, the music that I make is a mix of the original music that I make is a mix of like Linkin Park and Chainsmokers, if you can imagine that, right?
I think the video I saw of you was a combination of All Time Low and EDM.
Yes.
I think it's fascinating what you're doing with music, and it does sound like you've found like these ingredients that have really resonated well with this particular community of people that love that music and love the anime.
I actually didn't create that remix that you heard. So that was my friend from Germany, Steve W. He created that remix. And I think the amazing thing about being a DJ is that you get to combine all these records from friends that you've met all over the world, all these records you're finding on the internet, and just playing them and then using them in a way to create your own art. So yes, I do create my own remixes. I do have my own emo remixes and stuff, but that one that you heard, I just have to give credit to my boy Steve W from Germany. He's helped me go viral so many times with just like
Steve W.
Records.
Okay,
Steve W.
STVW.
Yes, sir.
But also let's give some credit to you because you've also recently been doing some original work with the lady that came to one of your shows.
So that lady, so right now I'm focusing on putting out more original music, really, really growing the Alex Kade brand, not as only, an anime themed DJ, as an emo themed DJ, but just like me, myself, and I am an artist, right? And then with this original music in EDM, we do a lot of collaborations. Like for me, I can sing, but then there's other times where I just want a different voice on it. So that lady in that video, there's this lady who, for those of you just listening, there was this lady in one of my videos who was just like so eccentric with her reactions to the things that I was playing, and then I just kept zooming in on her, and those videos went viral with like her facial expressions. That's actually one of my closest friends, Cass. On social media, I tell people, "Oh, no, it's a stranger." No, it's like one of my closest friends. I met her back in 2023 at an anime convention actually, and we actually bonded through our love of anime, our love of electronic dance music, our love of like emo stuff. She can sing. She's always been wanting to write music.
Yeah, she's a great singer.
Yeah, amazing. And one day, we're over the years, she's been just asking me like, "Yo, can we please make music? Can we please make music?" But I've just been on tour, so I'm like, I haven't had the time to sit down. And so when I finally had the time to sit down, back in 2024, I think it was like February of 2024. Like I invited Cass over, we wrote the song, and we're like, "Oh, this is like really, really good." But then I just didn't have time to finish it and release it until April of this year of 2025. But yeah, that's how it worked out.
What really stands out for me, Alex, is your story of the challenges that you faced at the beginning, and we've spoke about this before in our own private conversation of how you essentially wanted to start DJing at these venues, but you couldn't get the gigs. And so what you did was you thought, I'm going to do this myself.
Yes. Yes.
So tell
That's
tell
exactly
us
what
more about that, because I think that is one of the most inspiring parts of your story.
Yeah, man. I've always been someone who, if someone says no to me, I'll just figure out a way to do it myself. I think that's how I kind of just grew up, with my parents just always telling me like, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try to do this anyway. I just won't tell you that I'm doing this. So with I actually started off as a drummer. We were talking about this. I actually started off as a drummer. I want to become a full-time drummer, like who's it made? Like Travis Barker. I really love Travis Barker.
Some Blink-182
Tony
guitar in
Royster
the
Jr.
background as the Tom DeLonge Squire Stratocaster I've got on the
That's
wall.
crazy. Being like, I want to be a drummer. I want to be a full-time drummer for these bands. But then after a while, I got kind of bored of that. I want to be like in the front. Like I want to be the drummer in the front. I didn't want a drummer like in the back. And like even though Travis Barker is a celebrity, he's always in the back. I want to be at the front. I want to be the star of the show. So that's when I started pursuing songwriting, music production, and DJing. So that's how Alex Kade became a thing. That's how my artist name was created, Alex Kade. I didn't go by this when I was drumming, but as Alex Kade, I was just trying to figure out like, what do I want to do? Do I want to like drum at the same time I was DJing? That would have been it's really cool. I get to do it now because now I have the production budget to like bring drums around and DJ at the same time. But before, there were a lot of clubs where I just couldn't bring a drum kit. I couldn't do the big thing that I wanted to do. So I just had to resort to, they only have like this small like 5x5 foot booth.
So was it like fitting the drums and all the tech in there, or is that
I just didn't bring my drums. That's how I started DJing. So actually my very first DJ gig that I got hired for, they're like, you can't bring your drums, but you can DJ. I'm like, okay, well, let me just learn how to DJ. And it was just so much money that I couldn't pass up. Like at this is 2022. I didn't know how to DJ at all, but then they hired me to DJ. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just learn how to DJ. I'm not gonna tell them I don't know how to DJ. My very first set, 3 hours of DJing straight, nonstop. The crowd loved it. I kept like all 400 people on the dance floor for like the entire time. It was insane.
Amazing.
And when that happened, I'm like, okay, you know what? I guess I do have a talent for DJing as well. Like, I can do this. Like, I can bring my drums another time when I have more money, when I have a bigger stage. But that's how I got into DJing. And again, with these videos that were going viral, I was sending them out to different promoters, different venues. None of them would hire me. It was just a mix of like, oh, I don't think you can sell tickets. We want to hire this other person. This is way cheaper to hire this person when they can do the same thing as you. And all these no's, it would normally discourage someone from pursuing what they love. But for me, that's when I started thinking about, what if I just run my own event and I just hire myself to headline and I just hire myself to DJ? Let me just try that out. And that's how the We Touch Grass brand started, with me renting all these venues, because I want, other than running these events, I wanted to headline. I wanted to play shows in front of thousands of people. And this was like, once I figured out that very first show, that very first event, then the rest were like, okay, let me just keep replicating this and see what happens, let me just play shows until I'm sick of playing shows.
So you literally came across this barrier and you thought, well, instead of giving up or just trying to hammer through it, you figured out a way around it by doing it all yourself.
Yes.
That's what I find really inspiring about your story. I didn't know that you couldn't DJ and took a job as a DJ. That's pretty awesome. I can relate to that because that is how I learned drums and piano.
Amazing.
So I got hired as a piano teacher in North America. It was a bit of a mix up because I thought I was being interviewed for a guitar teacher. And then it got really far into the interview stage. I made it like stage 3, I think it was. And then they started asking me piano specific questions. And I remember saying, wait, this is for a guitar position, right? And they're like, no, this is for piano. You can play piano, can't you? And I was like, yes, I can. I really want to go to America. So I'm going to tell them that I can. And because I was at uni at the time studying music, I had access to the studio. So I just was literally playing piano every single day for like hours. And then I was teaching kids for like 7 hours a day. So I got too good before anyone could notice. And then and then the second time round, I applied. I could go to the same place. I got invited to work there again at the same summer camp. and they said, because I'd applied late and said, yeah, I'd love to, they said to me, we know you play multiple instruments. We've only got a drum position available. Can you do it? And I was like, yeah, 100%. And
That's
then
amazing.
the way that I learned that one, by the way, was on Band Hero. So, you know, in Band Hero, you had the drums.
Yes, that's how
Yeah.
I started drumming too. So
Is
we
it?
call it, yeah, well, the video game, right? That's the video game?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's how I
Yeah.
started. We call it Rock Band. We call it Rock Band here in North America. That was the name of the
Okay.
game.
Okay.
Right? But
Yeah.
that's how I got my start as a drummer. It was just playing drums, and like my parents bought me a drum kit too. I was very lucky to have parents who would buy me a drum kit, but I just ended up playing the video game way more than the actual drum kit. But then the cool thing about the video game, as you know, is like it actually teaches you how to drum. Like it's just the
Yeah,
same movements
it
compared to
is.
the guitar where you're just pressing the buttons. Like drumming on the video game will
Exactly.
actually translate over to an actual drum kit.
The main thing you need to learn with the drums is rhythm, and then also making your foot and your feet and your hands independent from each other.
Yes.
And you can learn that through Band Hero or Rock Band in your case, which is exactly what I did. I started playing the songs at master level, the really hard ones. I was like, okay, I'm good enough to fly out and teach this now.
Yeah,
And
that's all
then-
you need.
yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah, I love that you did the same thing. That's pretty cool. What I think is also very interesting is that you've developed this business that's making money from the thing that you love. And I think a lot of young people, a lot of listeners who'll be checking out this podcast will probably be thinking that there's things that they want to do that they really enjoy. Maybe it's in music that they think, oh, I couldn't make money off that, or I couldn't be huge. What kind of advice would you give to people like that who have these dreams, these ambitions, but maybe are a little bit afraid of failure, or they don't know how they would do it?
Oh man, there's so many things I could say, but I'd say just like the one thing that would boil down to is like I'd say like how it's you got to develop the ability to not give up and to also be really good at Googling and just finding out information and learning through the internet. Because with business, as a musician, most of the people who end up pursuing music and who do make a living from it, they're basically running their own businesses. Whether it's just they're a sole proprietor, or they're running a record label, or they're a DJ with a bunch of DJs who DJ at their other events. It's all a business. You just got to figure out how to make money, because you don't need a degree. You don't need a degree to like do a full-time job in music. You won't get high. There's very few salaried positions out there for someone who wants to perform music, write music. So you just got to figure out, okay, how do I turn myself as a business? How do I run my brain as a business? If I'm getting hired to play this show, and it costs $400, but I'm getting $500. That they're paying me $500, but it costs me like $400 to travel or something. Hey, I'm making $100 in profit. What can I do with this $100 that I now have, that extra $100? What can I do in order to grow myself, in order to get to the next job? Is it buying a car? Is it investing in Facebook ads? Is it investing in your social media? A lot of art-focused people in general, they don't really have a business mind when it comes to making money. They're always just focused on, or society builds us as people who just get hired to work a job 9 to 5, you rest on the weekends, same thing over and over and over and over again, and then you just collect money from one person. They don't really teach you how to go out and find different opportunities for money, but that's what you need as a creative if you want to make the arts your job. No one's hiring artists for salaried positions, right? Most people, I'd say 99% of artists, right, visual artists, music producers, all those types of people, we're just figuring out as many different ways to make ends meet as possible. And sometimes you can get creative with it, which is what I did with the anime raves, but or not sometimes, but I think like all the time, just try your best to be as creative as possible. Like, hey, there's too much competition in this lane, right? Try and think differently and do this and go down this pathway instead. Be different, be creative, learn how to Google, right? Learning online, there's so many lessons about business, about all these mistakes that you can learn online, so you don't end up making them yourself. And then every time something doesn't work out, just try something new. Keep trying something new until something does work out. I'd say those are like the 2.5, 3 things that I would say.
Are there any particular challenges, or maybe not challenges, but landmines that you think are worth advising people to maybe avoid, like the mistakes that maybe it's quite easy to go out and just spend loads of money on Facebook ads or something like that, or maybe work with a sales agency or a marketing agency that say, oh yeah, we can make you as big star? Are there any key ones where you think that people could make, that maybe you'd say, oh, avoid that, don't do that?
I'd say the biggest thing is you can't avoid failing. So just fail faster. Just learn your lessons faster. There's going to be so much pain. Like for me, like I can't tell you who not to hire. I can't tell you what not to spend your money on. But you can. Or no, you can tell after the fact. And that's how you're just going to keep learning. It's going to be painful. When I was 22, I tried to start a clothing business. I ended up spending $3,000. This is like when I was super, super broke. Working as a garbage man. Spent $3,000 trying to start up a business. I made maybe like $50 from that. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm never doing that again. But like $3,000 is actually much cheaper than a business degree that you'd have to go to university for 4 years for. And then you also get real life experience. And I think that's what I see on the internet a lot, learn how to fail faster. Like that's the only way you're going to learn, by making mistakes. That's how you learn. So like don't be scared of things. Yeah, that's the thing. Avoid being scared. Like it's going to be scary regardless, but just do it anyway. And then if it doesn't work out, then you just learn what not to do in the future. And if it does work out, then amazing. Congratulations. And it's going to not work out, like I'd say like at least 10, 20, maybe even 50 times. Like you're just going to go through so many roadblocks of this didn't work. This didn't work. This didn't work. This didn't work. I failed here. I lost money here. I lost $1,000 here. Oh my gosh. But like literally like it's every failure is one step closer to success. Every no is one step closer to a yes.
Everything you just said, I completely agree with, because I found the same experience in my business with mistakes that I made and kept coming across things that I was doing incorrectly, bad choices, and then I kept going and I kept going and I kept going until eventually I started to get things right. My business started to grow and things started to go well. I love actually drawing from the Ikigai. Are you familiar with Ikigai?
I do not know. I don't know the name.
Oh man, you should check out the Ikigai. So it's a Japanese philosophy.
Oh, Ikigai, yes. Yes,
Ikigai. Okay, so that's just my bad pronunciation.
No, you're good. Okay. I have heard the word. Yeah, I know the term.
Ikigai is to find something. It's like you're identifying and discovering your purpose. It's something that you do that you can make money from, that you enjoy doing, that you're good at, and the world needs.
Yes.
So if you can find something that aligns with those 4 pillars, then you have found your purpose.
Yes, sir.
And you won't stop. You will keep going through the challenges that you face. And it sounds like that's exactly what you were doing with your journey as a creative.
Yeah, I think we talked about this before, but I think my biggest goal in life is just to always do what I love. Always, if I'm going to make money from it, I want to make sure that I'm happy making money from it. I'm happy doing the activities that require me, that the business, whatever it is that requires me to, make my passion a living. I just don't want to ever dislike what I'm doing.
Was there ever a point where you were doing this stuff and there was a point where you got super uncomfortable and you weren't sure if you could make the leap?
Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no. So I'm very, very optimistic, and I also have I'm pretty confident, as well as there are times where I'm very, very stubborn. So I will tell myself, if I come across something, I'll look at it, or say I have a really, really big problem. I think this honestly happened like a month ago. I think I was on the verge of bankruptcy. That's what I thought I was going through. And then I just lied in bed and I didn't cry. I was just I had an existential crisis for about, I think, like half an hour, maybe almost maybe a day. I don't know. I don't remember. But then like the next day I was like, okay, you're done weeping now. You can either give up or you just figure out what to do. Right? And that has happened. Like, I think like, these moments in life, these like kind of down points, these lows have happened many, many times where I've just built up a thick enough skin and a big enough brain where I'm like, you know what? You've done so many other things. You've overcome so many other problems. Like, this is just an other problem. You just gotta learn something new in order to figure out this problem. And I figured it out. And every time, I think it's just, it's honestly a cycle now that I think about it. I will get hit with this massive problem and I'll just lie down on the ground, sulk a bit, and then after a while, I'll just tell myself, okay, like you either give up now or you learn something new and you figure out the solution. And usually I just end up figuring out the solution, or, I end up failing and I learn from it and then I figure out another solution, which, kind of fixes the old problem, and I just keep going. So it's just, being optimistic and being confident in yourself, and the internet. There's so many resources out there. And I was also telling you this yesterday, but what's the worst that could happen? What's the absolute worst that could happen if I were to fail? I would go bankrupt, but I'm young enough and I have enough brains, enough knowledge from like running all this stuff to just start again, right? It's not that bad, right? There's way worse positions I could be in, right? And I'm not there. I'm in the position that I'm in. So the worst that could happen is I fail and I have to start again, but with all this knowledge. So I think it'd be really actually cool. It'd be really, really cool to start something new. I cannot wait to, after I finish this part of my journey, this segment of my life, to start something new and pursue something new.
It reminds me of a piece of advice that I once heard, which was, if you've tried all these things and you've failed, you've still survived, right? You've never died from it. So you've managed to overcome it 100% of the time. So your success rate in survival is still pretty good.
I'm definitely not 100% of the time. Definitely not 100% of the time. But enough where...
Well, you're still alive.
Oh, yeah, where I'm still alive. Yeah. I've done it enough.
So you're 100% success rate of survival through everything you've been in, right? So that the point of that philosophy is that if it's not going to kill you, then you should carry on and keep trying.
Yes.
Right?
100%. 100% success rate in surviving.
Yeah, we're still here. If you were to go back to day one, what would you do differently to create this success?
Oh, man.
As a musician, as an artist 100%. Out there.
I actually used to be very, very introverted. It wasn't hard for me to talk to people, but I would get like shy. I'd get nervous talking to new people. I didn't want to meet new people. But over the years, I'm everyone, I don't think so, but everyone says I am, which means I must be. But like basically everyone calls me an extrovert now because I just talk to so many people. I can just strike up conversations with strangers now. And I think the biggest thing is just stepping out of your shell and being able to just like talk to people and also like make people feel good. Like not even just talk to people, connect with people, learning how to connect with people, but also not like for the sake of trying to get something out of it. Just connecting with people for the sake of connecting with people and just being interested, genuinely interested in who they are, their lives, what they're doing. Are they going through anything? Can you offer any value of them? Can you just give them a hug? Can you just say like, have a nice day. You have a wonderful smile. You're so beautiful. Just little bits of kindness here and there. Yeah, just being a bit more extroverted, being a bit more out of my shell to go out and just talk to people.
To have the courage to connect with other people. And it sounds like building relationships is quite key to your strategy. If you were to like go and consult with, say, some young people who maybe wanted to become artists like you, relationship building and growing your network of people within the industry would be quite a core part of that. I think
relationships, just not even just in your industry, but just relationships in general. Like I think everyone in life, like everyone that exists has value. Everyone, whoever's listening to this, like you are wonderful, you are amazing, and there's like, you just offer the world and the universe so much good energy and so many amazing things. It just, depends on who you connect with. Like, I have friends that who only want to work like 9 to 5s, who aren't entrepreneurial at all, but I love hanging out with them because their energy is just, they make me smile. I have so much fun with them. And then I have other relationships where, we're not working in the same industry, right? But they're entrepreneurial and they offer me advice, just general advice of like what they would do if I was in this position, or they just tell me about their business. Like, just everyone on this planet has something to offer. And has value, and I think it's just so great to just connect with as many people as you can and just see, like, how amazing people are. Yeah.
I think that is such a overlooked part of it, because I think people, especially looking at like, you think about the genres as well of music that we're talking about, that you're merging together. It's generally like a lot of the people that I certainly grew up around listening to this music weren't necessarily extroverted, weren't necessarily extremely sociable. And often it's a lot of creatives who end up isolating themselves and spend a lot of time with music, and also with gaming and with anime. So it's not necessarily the skill that people tend to lean towards, or the opportunity people tend to lean towards, but it's certainly a factor that I've seen be consistent, even in with my coaching business and the stuff that I'm doing. The more I've spent time on improving building relationships, and the types of relationships that I built has been such a game changer for growing the business, for becoming more successful in what I do, for becoming more confident. Also induces oxytocin. I don't know if you know much about that neuropeptide, but there's a lot of you induce a lot of oxytocin when you spend time in social situations. So even with like family, with friends, and if you are deficient in that, then you're not optimized. You cannot communicate effectively, and you won't necessarily be as happy either. So I think it's really important that people do share their love for things. And also, I love what you were saying about be curious. It's a really common piece of advice I'm seeing among really successful people who I listen to, and who I engage with, is they say, be genuinely curious with the people that you speak with. Just ask them questions about their lives and what they do, and what they think of the events that's going on around them. Can have such a monumental impact on the way people perceive you and want to be around you, and the way that you feel about them as well. So I think being curious is a really, really strong attribute. If you can just learn to just do that, just ask people questions.
I think one of the detriments that a lot of people have is just they're not open-minded. They're not willing to just see everything, all sides of the puzzle, all sides of the whatever it is that's happening, right? It's just great to just learn everything. Yes, learn everything about everything, and then you pick and choose what you want in your brain. But at least now you know that one side exists. You know that perspective exists. Right? It's up to you. What do you want to make out of it?
As a person who you believed as a previous introvert, what kind of guidance would you give to people who maybe feel like they're a little bit introverted but could benefit from communicating a bit more or building relationships with people?
Oh man, okay, yeah. I still remember how tough it was beginning. I was so scared to talk to people. You don't understand, man. Like,
so I was too. I went for the exact same thing.
Right, I was so scared, but it's not. I don't think it's like. I think people know how beneficial it is to create relationships, but they just don't know how to start. And I'd say like the easiest way to just start on your path of being a bit more outgoing, talking to a bit more people, is just every day try your best to just give a compliment to a random stranger. If you're at the grocery store, say have a nice day after you finish checking out. That's easy. Or just say compliment their earrings, whoever's there, or just give them a smile, right? Look them in the eye and just give them a smile and be like, have a nice day. Just one little thing every day, and you'll start to see that. There might be a day where you just say like the absolute wrong thing, like have a nice smile or something. I don't know. You might just like flub your words a bit, but you'll see that this person will still say thank you, and they'll still understand what you said, and like there are absolutely no consequences from you trying to give good energy out into the world. There's absolutely no consequences to if you make a mistake in trying to do something genuinely good, because humans will see that, oh no, this person's just they're just being themselves. Like, thank you for the compliment. Like, now go grab your car from the parking lot. Like, I'm done with you. But besides the point, yeah, just try your one little thing. Just like talk to someone new every day, and the easiest way to do that is just by saying, give them a little compliment. Have a nice day. All right, smile, make eye contact. It's tough though. I know how tough it is, but you just gotta kind of do it. And the more you do it, the easier it gets.
What was the change that you noticed after you started doing this stuff?
Oh man, people started noticing me more. It was like, I think it was just like a different energy, because like the more I started to do this, the more courageous I became, the more confidence I was building within myself. And like I always had this, like I looked exactly the same. Like nothing about my appearance has changed, but like I think people can feel that energy around you if you're out there and you're just someone who wants to give good energy out to the world, right? Once you've got that going on in your head, you're just genuinely just trying to give good energy out to the world, make people feel good. Then people start to gravitate towards you, and they start to want to talk to you. They just like, maybe they'll just like stare at you because you might not be the most attractive person in the room, but they'll stare at you because they can sense like this person is just happy and just confident. They've got something going on, and I want to get to know this person more. Right? And then I think it's really just like, other people being introverted and that not wanting to like talk to you. But I found that was the difference. Just like, people started treating me differently without me without me like looking any different. It was just like me just giving more energy out to the world, and it was just a positive cycle of like the world giving back like more energy to me, and just on and on and on. And so now like so many, I'm happy to talk, or it's so easy for me to like talk to like these people who have like such like crazy statuses. You'd think like, oh, this person's like some people might think they're a god, like these celebrities, like billionaires, millionaires. I'm like, no, they're just people, and you just go and just talk to them like people. They're just gonna give you the same energy back. Yeah, just building up that confidence.
I love what you were saying about the small steps that you need to take to get there. It's something really simple, like just saying when you're getting your groceries, or as we say, in the UK, getting your shopping, and you just say to the person on the checkout, how's your day? How are you doing? And giving them some eye contact, smiling. Both those two things are really good for inducing oxytocin, by the way. Once you do that, just those little things, you don't need to go out and say, you know what, I'm going to make 100 friends today. I'm going to just ask someone how they're doing, or say a compliment. A compliment is a really, really good way to start a conversation. When you're giving this advice, by the way, Alex, is what you're saying is that the same principle that James Clear, who authored Atomic Habits, talks about, which is just like 1%. Just like make these really small changes in your day, and then eventually you'll get to the goal that you want to achieve, whether it is developing confidence, whether it is becoming more
that's
more
a
sociable.
book I actually have to read.
It's
never read
good.
that book, but
yeah, it's great.
I really want to read that. But 1% a day is 365% a year, and like if you're just doing a third of that, right? Say like you're only doing, you're trying to get better 1% just 100 days of the year, you're still getting 100% in by the end of the year, right? So just being consistent with it.
There's that famous quote of people overestimate what they can do in a week, but they underestimate what they can do in a year, right? So that taking small steps towards a large goal that you have in life will be much more effective and align with your expectations than if you say, I'm going to become this huge EDM DJ because I've seen Alex Kade and I want to be like that, and I'm going to get that next week. I'm going to post one video and then it's going to go viral and then it's all going to happen for me. It's not actually as simple as that. But and another thing that I learned from Tony Robbins was that your happiness is based on your expectations. So if your expectations are too high and you expect that life should just be all sunshine and rainbows all the time, and that you should be a millionaire and you should be successful by now, and that is your expectations, you're going to be disappointed and therefore you're going to be unhappy. But if you lower your expectations and say, you know what, I'd like to be a millionaire or a successful EDM DJ within the next 12 months, there's a far greater chance that you will be happier with the progress that you're making, and you won't be disappointed, you won't be as down and as blue. That being said, I think it's really important what you were saying about your cycle as well, Alex, that you go through the cycle of like you try this thing, then you kind of go into like weeping down blue mode, like, oh, this sucks and I feel really crap. And then you're like, actually, right, I need to do something now. Either I just like let this defeat me or I need to change it up. I was going to ask you a question around that because I think I sometimes can find myself in the same cycle. But do you think there's value in leaning into some of the negative emotion that maybe you feel about something, like maybe something didn't work out, and instead of where maybe some people try and avoid it and distract themselves, whether it be with gaming, with music or whatever, actually they lean into that and they let that be present for them to then go to maybe the next stage and think, actually, okay, now I've gone through that, I've processed those emotions, now I can focus on the logical part of it and say, okay,
Yes.
now I've got to the fork in the road where I decide I'm going to try something else or I'm going to give up.
Yeah, I think it's so important to just, as a human, like you have emotions whether you want to or not, and like I think suppressing them is one of the is not something that you want to do. Just like accepting, like, oh man, I feel like crap. Why do I feel like crap right now? It's because this happened, this happened. Let me just, cry it out. There's nothing wrong with crying it out or just like being there, being sad. But if, after the initial point, do you want to make a difference? Do you want to feel this sad for the rest of your life? If you don't, then you do have to, get up, be logical about it, think about what the solution is, right? And like, while you're working through this, you're still going to be sad. Right? But you're just getting, 1% a day, 1% happier every single day, 1% closer to the solution to your problem. And all of a sudden, hey, you're not sad anymore. Your problem is gone. And everything's all good again until you hit the next little snag. But I think it's so important not to suppress these emotions, just like accept them. Like, you're human. It's normal. Everyone goes through them. So you should let yourself go through them as well.
Do you journal at all, Alex?
Do I journal? I do not. I do not. Period. I do not. I will. I process what goes on in my day. I actually no. Kind of circling back. I have like a really, really good memory of.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have a really good memory. Period. Of certain things though. Like I used to be really, really good with names. Now I can't remember names for my life. But I'm really good with numbers still. And I'm also really, really good at remembering how something made me feel. I can still remember being rejected as a 19-year-old in the gym from some girl that I had absolutely no chance with. It was embarrassing, and I still remember the exact feeling. But like, I think I don't journal because like I just kind of remember what happens in my days, right? I don't remember exactly what happens, but I remember those feelings, and like if something happened, like something important happened, right? I'll have my emails to like look through that. I have my text to look through that. I have like the week of like, okay, what did I do? Why was I so sad this week? Like this happened, this happened, this happened. Oh, like this is the reason why I was sad, right? And I think this is what I did to do it. And then I do have to-do lists. Like I have to-do lists that are just like extremely detailed of exactly what I did that week in terms of like the business and stuff. But I think having that just kind of reminds me of like, oh, so this is what happened this week, right? So if you gave me a date, like from last year, I could not tell you what happened. But if you kind of give me a frame of time, I will remember like what I was doing at that point, what I was feeling, why I was feeling the way I was feeling, and what happened afterwards and what happened before to cause that sad feeling or happy feeling, etc. So I have been blessed with a pretty good memory in certain areas of my life.
From a practical aspect, if there is any young people that wanted to become a DJ and perform at events, do something similar to you, what advice would you give to those people to start doing that?
The biggest thing, so many people say this, but like really enjoying the journey and just knowing that if you put in the effort every single day, you try your best, you will get there eventually. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Right. And then there's, other ways to accelerate that progress, going on Google, watching videos on TikTok or YouTube about how to do a specific thing, finding mentors, taking lessons on how to be better at music or business lessons, business consultations. Right. But the biggest thing is just it will happen if you put in the work every single day, if you are consistent.
Yeah, and that's really what I want to get to is that practicality of the story that you were sharing with me because you were sending out emails. So like what type of activities are those things that you think these people should be doing every day? Obviously, they need to have the right mindset, but from a practical perspective, what do you think they should be doing?
Yeah, there's so many things that you could be doing, but the most important I would say like in this day and age is trying your best to make really really good music, make as many songs as you can and just get better at making music as well as getting as good as you can at creating content that can go viral on social media. Content is how you market your music and then your music is, that's the product. That's what people will see you for. So if you market, if you're really really good at social media, but your music is not good, then, you're kind of marketing a turd. You can't really do that. Whereas, if you're making amazing music, but you don't know how to market it, no one's going to hear it other than you and your mom, right? So I think it's having the conjunction of both those things, and like usually it's just most people are just good at one thing and not the other, but they're just skills. Both of them are just skills, and you just got to put time into developing one a bit more if the other one is much 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 stronger. And we can go a bit over time. I got some time for you.
Okay, cool, thanks. So you've got the a bit of the formula there. So you're saying that be very creative and develop competency in the music and create lots of it. And second to that, be very good with the way that you market it using social media. So from the sounds of it, you used Instagram and you used TikTok. Were those intentional? Was Facebook ever involved, or did you avoid that particular platform because of the type of demographic in there? Like, what was the thinking
Oh
behind
no,
that?
I'm on as many platforms as I can mentally handle. Like Facebook, talking a bit more about systems and how I'm a kind of robot when it comes to this stuff. But I have a social media scheduler where I will make one video, right? I'll edit it on my computer. I'll make the one video. I'll post it to that social media scheduler, and that will send it out to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'd say those are like the big four in North America, right? And then now I'm trying to get into China as well. So learning how to use Redbook, that's the new app over there. Learning how to use Weibo and just seeing like, oh, what other social media apps are there in those markets that I want to hit, right? But
Okay.
it's really just trying to how can you be as effective as possible while doing the least amount of work. That's how I live a lot of times, just being quote unquote as lazy as possible, as efficient as possible. But I am on as many social media channels as I can mentally handle.
What I think is really potentially interesting about that, because I don't know the answer yet, but from the sounds of it, you did a lot of this learning of the social media platforms and how to do content independently. Am I right in
Yes.
saying that? Because when I started doing things on social media, I haven't done a lot on social media. It's definitely an area that I want to explore more. But what I found out really quickly is how bad I was at it. And I was like, oh my God, I definitely need to work on this. Like speaking as well, I was very good in person, really struggled on camera. And it took me a while to develop that as a skill set. And I didn't quite respect or appreciate how much of a different skill set that is. And the same with social media. You're absolutely right. Like being creative and writing loads of music is a skill set, but also being good with the social media is a skill set in itself. So tell me about how you managed to do that, because I think most people would probably be really feel almost obligated to pay someone to teach them these are the ways to maximize engagement and create social media hooks that work and things like that. So how on earth did you figure out how to do it as well as you do without any training?
It was I grew up in the age where social media was just starting to bud. So I've been doing social media a bit longer than most people have. Most people my age, most people our age have been doing it. I started making YouTube videos when I was 16. So I am 20 I'm 28 right now. So about like 12 years. About 12 years of doing social media. Uh but like it was a lot of just learning by myself. Going on Google and being like, how do I do this better? How do I do this better? And then as I started, getting more extroverted, that's when I started meeting more people who were doing the same thing as me. Now, along with Google, YouTube, the internet teaching me what to do, I would go ask my friends who are also content creators. And so I think that's kind of how I started getting better exponentially. It was really just like the last 4 years ish. I say like more like last 3 years, right? That I really started getting a lot more fluent in this language of social media, in this language of communicating with other people online. But I've just been doing it for such a long time that I think I'm just like a lot better at it. I have a better grasp of it. And also, just again, back to our talk of being open and being curious, right? Don't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. If something's not working, right? Hey, maybe you are the problem, right? And accept that and just go and try and see what you can change about how you're carrying your social media strategy out.
That's a huge piece of wonderful advice that you're giving as well, is like accountability. It's something that sometimes I see a lot of, even in leaders that I train. Sometimes they're looking at all of the outside factors as to why that something didn't work or why they failed at something, when actually it's because maybe they didn't show up to that meeting in time. Maybe they weren't 100% that day, or maybe they were in a bad mood when they were having a conversation with someone who's highly influential in terms of the outcome that they wanted. Maybe they didn't train as hard because they were drinking too much over the last week. Maybe they just could have improved their routine a little bit better. Maybe they made a poor investment and need to learn from that. Like, accountability is such a key attribute for success, I think. Because one thing that I learned from this incredible man, he makes, I've had him on my podcast before. He made like $100,000 a month in commission.
Crazy.
In commissions, not just sales. He sold so much that he made 100K in commission, which is extraordinary, right? And he was talking about accountability and saying that it is the most important skill, that is the number one thing that helped him become successful. Is he would just self-analyze all the time and think, right, what did I do wrong in that scenario? Why didn't I get that sale? Why didn't I manage to secure that deal? And then he developed like a list of all these things and then fixed them all, and then through that process was able to eliminate everything he was doing wrong and maximize his success. There's also a commander of a SEAL team, Jocko Willink, his name is. He's done a book called Extreme Ownership. He's fantastic, and he tells stories about how, as a leader of the SEALs, that he just took accountability for everything. Whenever something didn't work out in his team or a mission went south, he would say, "What did I do wrong?" And he would always be the first person to take his hand up and say, "Yeah, that mission failed because of me. I did not get us in the right positions, or I didn't see this thing that happened." And through that, all of his men ended up just respecting him as a leader. So I think that's a really important trait, and kudos to you, because it sounds like it's something that you've internalized, and maybe something that we could all do a little bit better. One last question for you, and then we'll wrap up.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah, man, the same. Honestly, you've been such an amazing guest, and there's so many things that I wish I could ask you over like another hour. Maybe we'll do this again sometime.
I'll see you soon. I'll visit you soon.
Yeah, exactly. But the question I have for you is, who helped you, and who have you helped?
We actually talked about that. I had so much trouble. For those listening, Chris had to make me. I had so many people who helped me, and Chris had to make me choose only one. It was tough, but we figured it out. But I'd say like the biggest influence in my life, the person who helped me the most was my uncle Paul. So he's not actually my uncle, but he's been friends with my parents since. He's not like a blood related uncle, but he's been friends with my parents since like I was in the womb, like before I was even conceived, I think. But he's just been there for me this whole time. He's always been supportive of my music, like never giving me any negativity, but just supportive of my music, supportive of my business things, never forcing any advice on me. He just had this energy. He just has this energy. He's still around. He has this energy where you can just kind of just talk to him about anything, and he'll give you his most unbiased thoughts. And if he has biased thoughts, he'll let you know, like, he's a bit biased about this, but it'll teach you more about perspectives. But he's the one who got me on this entrepreneurial journey in the first place. I was telling Chris the other day that I was selling cars back in 2019. I was a car salesman for about 2.5 months, and then I took a day off one day because my uncle Paul told me, "Hey, come to this angel investing practice session at the University of Waterloo," which is like 2 hours away from Toronto. But there are all these people just practicing pitching their business ideas to investors. and stuff. So I went, and he just wanted to show me that there's all these people my age, people younger, people older, who are just pursuing these passions that they love, or they have an idea that they think could really, really help the world, or could make a lot of money. I don't know what it was, but they just had these cool ideas that they were very passionate about, that they were pursuing and making a job, making a career out of it. And so the next day after going to that session, I immediately quit my job. And I was like, let me just, like, there's all these people doing this, they're all struggling. Let me struggle with them. Let me try my best to go down this path. And he was the one who taught me how to, not fully how to achieve financial freedom, but just like kind of getting me on the roll of, if you're working a job every single day of your life, you're working minimum wage, how are you supposed to buy a house? How are you supposed to buy a car? It's not enough money to live in this society. You got to figure out something else, right? Start a business, start learning how to invest, right? But I think it's just like, just the him always just supporting me in anything that I did. And if he didn't support me in something, he would let me know, I don't think this is the best idea. Maybe try this instead. Not even just like leaving me at just like, this isn't a good idea. Bye. That's dumb. It was, I don't think this is a good idea. Why don't you try this out instead? Why don't you alter your strategy, and try this out instead? So just that combination of constructive criticism, support, all that love he was giving me, it really translated into into me being able to get the things that I do have now today.
Who is it you helped?
We actually talked about her earlier on, but my friend Cass. So I haven't known her for too long. I've only known her since like May of 2023, right now. So about 2 years now. Wow, 2 years, nearly 2 years. But for her, she's always wanted to get into the music industry. She's always wanted to record more music, wanted to perform, and she was always just asking me all these questions. And I'd say like I am guilty of it, but at first like I just didn't have too much time to invest into her and just like tell her stuff. Like I would answer questions and stuff, but like she wanted to hop on calls and stuff. I'm like, I'm a bit too busy. I'm a bit too busy. I'm a bit too busy. But then as we started getting closer, I'm like, all right, yo, like this is how I did it. Maybe this is how you could do it. And then she started putting the effort. I think the biggest thing is that she started trying. It wasn't just like asking all these questions and not taking action. Not taking action. It was she started taking action and listening to what I was doing, or listening to what I was telling her to do. And even though she was like, no, not doing the right things, I saw that she had the passion and the motivation to just like do whatever it takes to get herself there. And so that's when I started, okay, here's a bit more stuff. Here's a bit more stuff. Why don't you try this out? Why don't you try this out? And now it's at a point where, like, anytime she has a question, she'll just text me. I will like drop everything just to respond, send a voice note, hop on a call with her. And from like a concrete stuff that she's done, she started. I think she put out her first record back in, I think maybe like early or late 2024, mid 2024. I don't quite remember, but like, she achieved that goal there. And then it's only been a year, and she's at a point where she's a singer, right, songwriter, but she's at a point where she should be charging money for records now. Like she's got the experience of a lot of the professional vocalists out there in the music industry, right? And she got all of that within a year, and that was like, I guided her here and there, but she did a lot of that work herself. But I'd say like I did help her a lot with like telling her like, don't do this. I've done this. I made this massive mistake. Do not do this. Oh, this guy, red flags. I don't think you should work with him. You can try to work with him. Go ahead if you think it's a good idea, but I would advise against it. And just I kind of give this advice to like everyone. Like I just tell everyone like, hit me up anytime you need help. Message me. My DMs are always open. I always check my emails. And I think Cass is the only one who has actually taken me up on that, of like messaging me anytime she has a question. And I think that's why she is where she is. Like I've given a lot of advice. She has worked hard, but like, it's definitely helpful I love being a mentor to people. I love being a mentor to Cass. And, if anyone else needs help, like my DMs are always open. My emails are always open. I check my emails every single day. I check it on the weekends. I check it like every hour of the day. So reach out anytime.
You also dropped the term mentor a few times. Would you encourage people to get a mentor and to mentor themselves?
Yes. Like, I think it's or getting a mentor, what that means is just finding someone who has experienced things that you want to experience so they can teach you how to get closer to that experience. Whether it's, your mom could be a mentor in your cooking, right? My Uncle Paul is a mentor in learning how to invest in stocks, right? I have other mentors who teach me how to do business, who teach me how to do music better, who teach me how to produce better. but they give all that advice to me. They give all that knowledge to me for free. And I think it's only fair for you. You don't have to, but I think it's just such a great thing to do if you can give that knowledge that you've learned from all these people, from your experiences, if you give it back to other people who are trying to get to where you are now. And hopefully they'll pay it forward and just keep teaching and just keep teaching, giving good energy to the world, and just helping. Because I think, as humans, like innately, like we want to help. We love helping, and it just makes us feel good. So just go with the flow. Go with whatever life has go with why the universe has put us on this planet to help.
If people want to reach out to you because they want to work with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Definitely my Instagram direct messages, right? If you're not the best with Instagram, but you just go on my profile, you click message, you tap on message, and you can send me a message. I open my DMs every day. I am unhealthily on social media every single day, every single like second of the day. I'm there, but because of that, I am where I am, and I've been able to help the people that I've been able to help.
We'll list your Instagram in the description so people can click on it and get to you.
Chris, thank you so much.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. Thank you so much for coming on and spending the hour with me to talk about your story, your career. I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible. I think this is the beginning of your journey. I think it's only going to grow. I can't wait to see. Is it We Touch Grass? Is that the name?
That's the brand. Yeah, that's the. I'm the CEO and founder. We Touch Grass is currently North America's largest anime-themed nightclub event, and I grew that cool. From people saying no. I grew that from me wanting to DJ, and no one was hiring me, so I just ended up hiring myself to DJ at these events.
Well, Alex, we'll stay in touch. Anyone who wants to reach out to Alex, please feel free to reach out on Instagram, as we mentioned. And for now, thank you and goodbye, everybody.
Thank you so much, Chris. Goodbye, everyone.